Hi, my name is Maureen Turnbull-Arbelow, and I'm the founder of Prepare Coaching. I connect people from across the world to spread their message, also to learn, to teach, and to cross the many language and cultural barriers that can, but do not have to separate us. Have you ever heard the saying, the grass is always greener? Have you ever felt that? Have you ever looked on Instagram or Facebook or, I don't know, YouTube and thought, oh my God, it must be so awesome to live there. Wow, that person has a great life. Or, oh man, if I lived there, it'd be fabulous. Maybe if you're a Brazilian, you really wish you could live in the US. And maybe if you're in the US, you wish you could live somewhere else. But is the grass really greener? I believe that, well, I'm from the US and I live in Brazil, and in my personal experience, I believe that the grass can be a lot greener and not. I've experienced so many wonderful things in Brazil and so many wonderful things in the US and in other places. And being someone from the US and Brazil, people ask me constantly on a daily basis and many times a day where I'm from and why I live in Brazil. Because, oh, everybody wants to go to the US. Why would I be in Brazil? Why am I in Brazil? And I usually respond because I love it, because I like to live in Brazil and I made that choice. But that doesn't mean that I don't love the US. And what's very interesting is when I'm in the US and when I talk to people from the US and I say that I live in Brazil, usually people say, oh my God, that must be so awesome, that must be so exciting, it's so boring here. And it's funny, people think that here in Brazil everything must be so much more fun and exciting. And whether or not that's true, it's hard for me to say. Mostly people ask me, is it better or is it worse? In lots of different situations. And the truth is, it's not really better or worse, it just depends. Some things are so much better and some things are a lot worse. And there are so many great things that I have here that I know I couldn't have in the US. And in the US, there are so many wonderful things that I miss that I can't have here. And really the things that I miss the most are probably the people, but also lots of things. And what's really interesting is now that I moved to this beautiful beach community and it's fabulous and we wanted to live here, I don't live in Porto Alegre anymore, and I didn't want to live there anymore, but I still really miss it. Tenho saudades, which is a fabulous word in Portuguese, which doesn't have a good translation in English. It means to be melancholy, but it's not really melancholy because you're happy that you feel so much that you can miss something, and I feel like that. I feel like that about the US, but I feel like that about all the places I've lived in the US, and I feel like that about Porto Alegre now. That, man, I miss it. I miss so many things, and there's things that I just can't find here. But if I'm here looking for there, I'm not going to be very happy. If I'm here in Brazil searching for the US, I'm going to be unhappy. If I search for what's missing here, I'm going to notice how many things are missing. And if I search for the things that are amazing here, a lot more things are amazing. So I think that that's what's so important is our perspective. For example, the first time I came to Brazil, I went to Porto Alegre and then I spent a couple days at this beautiful beach, Torres, a few hours outside of Porto Alegre. And I just spent 2 days there and taking pictures, climbing on the rocks. And the second day, I was just saying how beautiful it was, how amazing it was. I couldn't believe it. And then I stopped and realized, wow, this reminds me a lot of where I lived, because at that time, I lived in Santa Cruz, California. But I lived in Santa Cruz, California, but I spent very little time at the beach. I studied a lot, and I was at university, and I was going to grad school, so I was studying, and I just didn't really take a lot of time to go to the beach. And I wasn't really valuing how beautiful it was where I lived. And so actually after that trip, I enjoyed Santa Cruz so much more because I started going to the beach all the time to work and to study at the beach. And I also spent a lot of sunsets at the beach to really enjoy the place that I was living. But it really took me going so far away, which is funny. It shouldn't have taken me going all the way to Brazil to realize how beautiful where I lived was, but it did. And I think often it takes us that perspective to realize how wonderful things are and to realize how we don't necessarily value what we have. Oftentimes we have so much, but we're looking at what's missing and we don't notice how much we have. And I think that gets back to the question of focus and of gratitude. So I do think that if you want to live somewhere else and travel, it's wonderful and it's great and we learn so many things and it's wonderful, and I encourage you to do so. It's easier for some of us to travel and to live abroad. Of course, because of visa issues, it's much easier for someone from the US to live in Brazil than vice versa, but there are many challenges that come with living abroad, and that goes across the board. But if that's something that you want to do, I super encourage you to do that. But in the meantime, where you're making that happen, because it takes a lot of time to make that happen, and depending on your situation, it can take you a long time, I encourage you to look at what it is that you're looking for there. And if there are ways that you can find that where you are. So in that time where you're getting ready to travel, getting ready to live somewhere else, can you find some of those pieces that you're looking for right where you are? And also maybe think in a different way. Try to take an outside perspective about where it is you do live. And try to appreciate the things that you have around you. And I know it usually is difficult because we tend to see those things when we're outside. But try to be an outside observer and notice all of the beauty that you have around you. I really love the metaphor of the lotus flower. And the lotus flower is in the swamps. And it's said that the lotus flower grows the best, it blooms the best when it's in the dirtiest of muckiest of muddy swamps. And so there you are walking through a mucky swamp, and there's a lotus flower. It's really easy to focus on all of the muck and the mud, or you could see the lotus flower. It's a lot smaller than all the muck and the mud, or you could just really look at that beauty. I think that that's a lot of life, and that's a lot of us traveling and enjoying where we are, whether that be where we were born, or where we're living, or living abroad. We really need to focus on what we have and what that place offers, rather than what's missing. Whether it be what's missing because we're living in a new place and it doesn't have all the comforts of home, or whether it's we're living in our home and it doesn't have all the exciting, amazing things we imagine there must be in another place. So I invite you to think about that today. I hope that served you, and I'd love to hear what you think about the grass being greener. Do you find that to be the case? And have you ever felt that the grass was greener and it was true, or maybe it wasn't true, or what do you think? I'd love to hear your opinion. With that, I'll let you go, and I just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with me. It's such a pleasure talking with you. Much light and much love and all the best that this universe has to offer. I'll see you next week.